What you do to your perennials in the next 3 weeks decides whether half of them come back at all next spring. August is the quiet turning point of the whole gardening year. The plant still grows like summer, but underground it has already started making the decision about winter. Help it decide right now, and it explodes next May. Get it wrong, and you will not find out until the ground thaws and half your border is just gone. Number 1 on this list is what almost everyone does, and it is why gardens come back diminished every spring. 9 August tasks. Skip them, especially number 1, and you will stand over bare soil in May wondering what happened. Number 9. Vole and mouse winter protection setup. Every American gardener over 60 knows the loss. You walk out in April, look at the shade bed, and half your hostas are just gone. The crowns are chewed to nothing under where the mulch used to be. That is vole damage, and August is when you prevent it, not February when the damage is done. Voles start scouting winter shelters in August. Any mulch piled up against a perennial crown becomes a vole highway under the snow. They tunnel through, feed on the crown, and by spring the plant is dead. 2 moves this weekend. First, pull mulch back 3 inches from every perennial crown and leave a bare soil collar around the base of the plant. No mulch pileup means no vole tunnel entry. Second, if you have had vole damage in past years, wrap the crowns of your most valuable specimens, including hostas, heucheras, and hardy hibiscus, in a hardware cloth cylinder pushed into the soil an inch or 2. 1/4 inch mesh is the specification that stops voles specifically. Think of it as a mini fence around the crown. Vole population peaks in late summer, so start snap traps at the property edge now while the population is high and easier to knock down before winter. Have-a-heart or Victor snap traps, baited with a small dab of peanut butter and set inside a piece of PVC pipe so the trap does not catch birds or pets, work better than any bait station. The best time to trap voles is right now, in the 6-week window, when they are actively scouting winter shelter. How to know if you already have vole damage brewing? Walk your beds now and look for 2 things. First, narrow surface runways, trails of matted grass about 2 inches wide, usually along the base of foundation walls or under mulch, leading from bed to bed. Second, small entry holes about 1 inch across at the base of a mulch pileup near a perennial crown. Either sign means active vole traffic, and this winter's damage is already coming. Number 8. Walk every bed. Fall diseases weaken winter survival. Late July and August is when 3 perennial diseases simultaneously get established, and every one of them weakens a plant's ability to survive winter. Powdery mildew on tall garden phlox and monarda. Leaf spot on hollyhock and bee balm. Crown rot on peonies and iris in wet spots. Here is what makes August disease patrol different from summer patrol. The infection now determines whether the plant enters winter with a full complement of healthy leaves storing sugars for spring, or a plant with half its foliage already dead, entering winter with depleted reserves. Weakened plants do not just look worse, they fail to come back at full strength. Walk every bed once this week, remove any leaf showing spots or powdery coating, drop it in the trash, not the compost. Thin the interior of any overcrowded clump, weed around the perimeter for airflow, water at the base of the plant, not overhead, for the rest of the summer. The plant's at highest risk right now. Tall garden phlox, the classic pink David cultivar accepted. Most tall phlox get powdery mildew badly by August. Bee balm, mildew donut in the middle of the clump every year. Peonies, gray mold, starting on the leaves after wet Julys. Hollyhock, rust on the leaf undersides. Iris, leaf spot if watered overhead. Walk these specifically. Every leaf you remove now is 1 less winter reserve the plant needs to spend. That 30 minutes of walking beds this weekend is the difference between plants entering winter healthy and plants entering winter depleted. Number 7. Divide. Now, August is when the window opens. If you have any perennial clumps that are overgrown, woody in the center, or blooming less than they used to, August is when the division window opens. Not July, too hot. Not October, too late for root establishment. Late August through mid-September is the sweet spot. Here is the timing rule. Wait for the first cool morning where the temperature drops below 60. Soil temperature has finally started to cool, roots start recruiting new cells, and any division you do lands in the perfect establishment window. Divisions transplanted in that 6-week cool soil window come back next spring as full plants. Divisions done in July, heat, or October frost fail. The list of best late summer divisions: bearded iris, daylily, coneflower, black-eyed Susan, hostas, Siberian iris, sedum, phlox, and hardy geranium. Do not divide peonies, bleeding heart, oriental poppy, hellebore, or ornamental grasses in August. Those need spring division only. One clump becomes 4 to 6 plants in an afternoon. Fresh divisions transplanted in the right window mean you enter next spring with more mature plants across a wider bed for $0 spent. The division mechanic changes per plant. Bearded iris. Dig, wash the rhizomes with a hose, snap them apart by hand where they naturally break, and replant each rhizome with the top exposed to sun. Never bury a bearded iris rhizome, ever. Hosta. Cut through the crown with a serrated bread knife. Each wedge needs at least 2 shoots and a chunk of root. Daylily, the easiest of them all. Drive a sharp spade straight down through the clump, right in the ground. Lift half out and replant. Coneflower and black-eyed Susan. Dig the whole clump, cut into 4 wedges with a sharp spade, and replant each. Sedum and hardy geranium, same as daylily, spade straight through in place. The one universal rule, regardless of plant. Water the parent clump deeply the day before you dig. Wet soil holds the roots together during the lift. Dry soil breaks the root ball apart and stresses the divisions. That single step is the difference between divisions that take and divisions that fail. Number 6, label every summer dormant perennial before fall, dieback. Here is the practical mistake almost every gardener over 60 has made at least once. I have made it more than once myself. It is April. You are doing the spring bed cleanup. You see a bare spot and you dig it up thinking whatever was there died. What you actually dug up was a perfectly healthy summer dormant perennial that was still waiting to emerge. I dug up a bleeding heart somewhere around 2007. It had died back to nothing by August the year before. I had forgotten it was there, and by April, I was pulling out roots thinking the whole plant was dead. It was not dead. I killed it with a shovel. The perennials that die back completely to nothing by September: oriental poppy, bleeding heart, hardy hibiscus, and Virginia bluebells. Label everyone this month while you still know exactly where they sit. The full list of common perennials that vanish by early September: oriental poppy, bleeding heart, Virginia bluebells, hardy hibiscus, balloon flower, monk's hood, and butterfly weed. The label options: a permanent plant tag on a metal stake pushed into the ground right next to the crown, or a decorative rock placed at the crown location. A smooth river stone painted with a name on the underside works forever. Or a small clump of a companion perennial, compact hosta or low sedum, planted 6 inches from the crown as a visual placeholder that stays visible year-round. Do this now, before September dieback erases every visual clue. Number 5. Stop pruning woody perennials and shrubs. The rule almost no gardener over 60 gets right. Any woody stem plant, lavender, Russian sage, hydrangea, buddleia, roses, spirea, should not be pruned in August. Not deadheading spent flower spikes, not tidying up the shape, not cutting back for structure. All hard pruning stops now. Here is what happens if you prune woody plants in August. The cut stimulates fresh, soft growth from the plant's stored energy. That new soft growth has no time to harden off before the first frost. When the first hard freeze hits in October or November, the entire flush of new soft growth dies. Worse, the wounds you made in August have not fully sealed, so cold and fungal infection enter through the open cuts. You end up with a weakened plant that limps into winter and comes back diminished, or does not come back at all. I made this mistake with a lavender bed in the mid-90s. Cut them back hard in August, thinking I was cleaning up. Every single one of the 8 plants died over that winter. Learned the rule the hard way. No woody pruning after mid-July. The only late summer pruning allowed: light deadheading of individual spent flower stems. Nothing more. All structural pruning waits for April. That is the rule that saves lavender, hydrangea, roses, and every other woody perennial in your yard. There is a book that covers all of this in the depth these videos never quite have time for. henrysgardensecrets.com. If you want the whole framework instead of one task at a time, it lives there. Only mention. Number 4. Plant new perennials now during the fall establishment window. August is one of the best planting windows of the entire year, and almost every gardener wastes it. Soil is still warm from summer sun, temperatures are moderating from the July peak, and roots take hold aggressively when planted in warm soil under cooler air. A perennial planted in August has 6 to 10 weeks to establish before the ground freezes, the same amount of time a spring-planted perennial gets, but without the transplant shock of April cold soil. The specific benefit for winter survival. Roots that establish in warm August soil grow deep and wide before dormancy. Deep-rooted plants survive winter freeze-thaw cycles that heave shallow-rooted plants right out of the ground. Fall-planted perennials come out of their first winter twice the size of spring-planted competitors. The best candidates for August planting: hellebores, peonies, bearded iris, oriental poppy, and most hardy perennials from a nursery quart or gallon pot. Water deeply immediately after planting, then water once a week for the next 4 weeks, then let the fall rains handle it. Do not fertilize new fall plantings. See number 1 on this list for why. The one caution with August planting. Skip shrubs and small trees this month. Those benefit from October planting after they enter dormancy. August planting is for herbaceous perennials specifically, the ones with soft stems that die back to the ground for winter. Perennials go in warm soil now, roots grow deep, and dormancy protects the plant until spring. The perennials that specifically benefit more from August planting than spring. Hellebores planted in August, they root through fall and reward you with February flowers the following winter, blooming through snow when nothing else is alive. Peonies, August and September are the only correct planting windows for peonies. Spring-planted peonies rarely bloom for 2 years or more. Bearded iris, rhizomes need to establish in warm soil before winter, so July to August is peak. Oriental poppy, dormant in August, exactly the right window. Fall-blooming asters, plant now, get October color this same year. Coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, and native prairie perennials all take remarkably well to August planting because their native cycle is fall root establishment. That is the difference between a full flower show next spring and a stick in the ground while you wait for the plant to catch up. Number 3. Deep water in the morning. Roots that survive winter freeze. Watering in August is not about keeping your plants alive through the heat. It is about building the deep root system that determines whether the plant survives winter freeze-thaw at all. Here is the mechanism. Shallow watering creates shallow roots. Shallow roots sit in the top 2 inches of soil where freeze-thaw cycles are most violent because the ground heaves the roots literally up out of the soil, breaking connections, exposing the crown to winter air. Deep watering creates deep roots. Deep roots sit below the freeze line, anchor the plant through winter, and pull moisture from soil layers that never fully freeze. The rule for August through September: water once or twice a week, deeply, an inch of water total per session. Morning delivery, never evening. At the base of the plant, never overhead. 15 minutes of slow trickle from a hose per zone. Everything else, daily light sprinkling, evening watering, overhead watering, watering already established drought-tolerant plants is either useless or actively harmful. Water deep, water rare, water in the morning. That is the entire August watering rule. Test it yourself the next time you water. After a 15-minute deep session, push a long screwdriver or a chopstick 6 inches straight down into the soil next to the plant. If the tool comes out damp all the way down, you watered correctly. If it comes out dry at the bottom, your soil needs another 20 minutes of slow trickle to reach the actual root zone. The screwdriver test is the fastest way to learn how long your soil takes to accept an inch of water. Real quick, the comment I want most on this video. Type the perennial you lost last winter plus your U.S. state. Nothing shapes the next winter survival video I make more than knowing which plants your winters are actually killing. Number 2. Cut back rebloomers by mid-August. Miss the deadline and the new growth won't harden. This one has a hard deadline, the second week of August in most of the country. After that date, do not cut back a perennial for rebloom. Here is why. Catmint, salvia, hardy geranium, coreopsis, and threadleaf coreopsis. When you cut these plants back by 1/3 in early August, they respond with a full flush of fresh, soft growth that reblooms in September. Beautiful when it works. When you cut them after mid-August, the fresh growth does not have enough time to harden off before the first hard frost in October. That soft growth dies in the freeze. The plant enters winter weakened and comes back diminished the next spring. The deadline rule. If you can still cut back before August 15th, do it now for the rebloom bonus. If you miss the window, do not cut. Let the plant go into fall in its slightly leggy condition. It will come back full the next year without the September rebloom. The species this rule applies to specifically: catmint, any nepeta; salvia, any of the sage cultivars; hardy geranium, except sterile hybrids like Roseanne, which do not need cutback; coreopsis, both large-flowered and threadleaf. Nothing else on this list gets an August cutback, so leave the peonies, iris, hostas, and coneflowers alone. Timing this cut correctly is a small window with a large payoff. Missing it costs a whole year of extra bloom. Zone-specific deadline adjustment. In zones 3 to 4, the cutoff is actually August 1st because the first frost comes so much earlier. In zones 5 to 6, August 15th is accurate. In zones 7 to 8, you have until August 25th. In zones 9 to 10, the whole concept is less important because plants barely go dormant. Look up your zone's first frost date and back off 6 weeks. That is your personal cutback deadline. Before I get to number 1, a small ask. Hit the like button if a single plant you loved has died over a winter and you still do not know why. Every one of those losses is a story of someone doing exactly what number 1 on this list warns against and never being told. And subscribe if fall and winter garden work is where you actually want the help. Number 1, stop fertilizing right now, the single most common August action that kills perennials over the following winter. Not obvious in August, the plant looks great. Fatal by January. Nitrogen tells a plant to grow. Feed a perennial in August, and the plant pushes out soft new growth that has no time to harden off before frost. First hard freeze hits, the soft flush dies, and the plant enters winter with damaged tissue and depleted reserves because it spent its late summer energy on the wrong thing. Some die outright. Others come back so diminished, you dig them up thinking they died. Michigan State Extension is blunt on this. No nitrogen after late summer. For most of the country, the last day of July was the cutoff. Anything you feed after August 1st is money you paid to kill your own perennials. My neighbor across the street has fertilized her perennials in August for the 20 years I have lived on this block. Every winter she loses 2 or 3 plants. Every spring she replants. She has never made the connection. Do not be that neighbor. 9 August tasks, a few minutes each. The difference between a garden that comes back stronger every May and a garden that comes back diminished or does not come back at all. If you only do one thing this weekend, do number 1. Stop feeding. That single restraint saves more perennials over a winter than any active work you can do this month.